Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 16 of the Loose Balls Podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Ryan Heffernan. To my right,
Tristan Mabin.
to my left,
Christopher Bean. What up, doe?
and someone say fire me up because we had a heck of a week last week.
Fire me up.
Fire me the fuck up. We had the NFL draft. Every round has officially been concluded. The NBA playoffs. Last week we talked about game ones, but now we're into the game twos, game threes, and game fours. Got a lot to talk about there. And then the NHL playoffs. You know, we had our special guest, Christopher Robert, here last week talking about predictions. And now, you know,
We're in the nitty-gritty.
we're in the nitty-gritty. So, without further ado, Bean, take us away.
Yeah, like I've said, fantastic weekend of sports. You know, one of the best of the year so far, and we get another great weekend of sports. Obviously, the end of round one, and we got the horsey race this weekend. It is Kentucky Derby.
Oh, it's Derby weekend.
Yes, it is. Happy Derby week.
Whoa.
So it's nonstop right now. The foot is on the gas.
And if you're a sports gambler right now, oh my.
Shout out Frankie.
Yeah, you could
Big weekend for him.
bet on anything right now. Baseball, hockey, basketball, horses.
Sure.
Yeah. Good for the world.
Start looking at week one lines in college football.
You did that?
Possibly, potentially.
You putting your future in soon too? Get some good
I don't
odds?
know. College football is so tough to predict futures because you don't really know. Players sort of come out of the woodwork. You don't know anything about these freshmen. You don't know anything, especially these days with the transfer portal and everything. And so it's tough to predict.
You're not studying high school tape?
No, not like that.
Oh, wow.
I'll be getting into it, but
And you call yourself a ball knower?
maybe I'm not. I don't know.
Are you studying the next quarterback to fall in the round 5?
I don't know. That's pretty unprecedented. You don't see many players fall that much. But
Speaking of
Yeah.
that, Mabin will be talking about that. I will be too. Mabin had a prediction last week, and I think I had that same prediction. If I'm not going to be,
Let's start there.
I didn't really make a
because-
prediction, but we'll get to that.
We'll
in
start there
due time.
because our friends are going after Mabin right now, as you've heard really throughout the history of this podcast, which this is episode 16, like I've said. Mabin has been a big, Shedeur Sanders fan, and so has Hef too, and that's kind of been swept under the rug. Did I predict him to go number 144 in the draft and fall to round 5? Absolutely not. But I wasn't quite as big, but both of you were, and people are just going after you right now, Mabin.
This is true.
But it's still not as bad as what Mel Kiper did this weekend. Just basically saying how the league hasn't been able to evaluate quarterbacks for the last 50 years. I mean, obviously there's been some busts, but, I think he was kind of going for the Tom Brady angle, but even the college that he came from, Michigan, obviously me and Hef are big Michigan fans. He was a second string quarterback. He played a lot, but he didn't start every game there, and they would platoon quarterbacks. So even the Tom Brady, that's such a rare commodity. Obviously there's been a big hit rates of most starting quarterbacks are round 1 picks. Obviously the Russell Wilsons of the world.
Joe Montana, 3rd round pick.
Yeah, so obviously there's been few examples of quarterbacks falling, but that's every position, and even there's been Hall of Famers that have gone undrafted at any position.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's just that's the NFL. So what Mel Kiper did was crazy, and I think that should your prediction should be swept under the rug because at least you didn't go on TV and basically almost cry. So what are your thoughts this weekend?
He sort of lost his mind on national TV, but it was exciting to watch though. It was entertainment, and that's what the draft is. It's entertainment, and it proves how dedicated NFL fans are. And it's not an exciting event, but people are always going to turn out and go to the draft. We had the draft in Detroit last year, and Green Bay seemed to show out. Not quite like Detroit, but
No shocker
they were up there. So, in terms of my pick, so like being alluded to, some of our friends were coming at me, and I thought to myself, okay, well, let me listen back. Let me watch the tape a little bit and see what exactly did I say, because I didn't remember making any like crazy proclamation that he's going to be like a generational type guy. And I don't usually listen back to our pod, but I did this time. I listened back to it, and evidently enough, one of the first things I say is I go, if he doesn't go in the top 5, I can see him sliding.
Yeah.
That's one of the first things that I said. And then, like, me and Hef were in the same boat. I'm not throwing you under the bus because I still believe that he's going to be a good player. But Hef is the one that brought up, like, hey, I think this guy has a chance to be a top 10 quarterback in the league.
He did say
and
that.
I did agree with you, but, like, you were the one that brought that up, not me. And then, after all that, when we did our mock draft, I was the only one that didn't have Shedeur mocked in the top 10. I believe both you guys had him picked at 9 to the Saints.
Yeah.
I didn't have him picked at all. So this narrative that I'm like overblowing Shedeur, and it's like, well,
I don't know where it I feel like you haven't been glazing him that hard.
Well, I agree, right? And the fact that they're evidently jumping down my throat because I said I liked him. Mm-hmm. Like, it's clearly not. I wasn't there to talk to him, so I don't really know much about him. Just off the tape and talent-wise, he has the talent. So I don't know why they jumped down my throat.
Well, I think
so quickly. There's some. Well, I have some theories, but that's for a different conversation on a different day.
Here's a theory. One of our good friends, Julian. He's not. He doesn't hold back of your Jake Fromm prediction from 6 years ago.
Yeah, he will always hold that against me.
So that definitely,
which is fair. I was pretty. Yeah. I can convincingly say I was wrong on Jake Fromm.
I'm sure Julian's had some bad takes too. Like, let's be real. Come on.
Well, like, he thinks Michael Penix he thought he was just gonna be a backup, and he's clearly got the talent to be a starter in this league. So, but this is not. We're not comparing here. It's just, that is a fact.
Yeah, I still think Shedeur is gonna be.
But anyways, let's talk ball.
Yeah, well, I do want to stay with him just for a little bit because, like, obviously that was the topic of the draft, and like, he obviously clearly, fucked up in his interviews, and
right.
There was reports that he was basically botched interviews where he was choosing teams basically where he wanted to go, and that's what Deion said last year, and he's kind of backtracked that.
Yeah.
In the last year or so, but basically Shedeur took that role by himself, and I reported, again, this is just rumors, like, it was some of the worst interviews coaches have ever experienced.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a report too where Dable, Homer Maben, get out, let's go,
see ya,
Carry Bonds, baby. But Dable, the one cool thing last year from the Giants off season, what's it called, Hard Knocks?
Yeah,
is Dable was basically picking the brains of it. I think it was Jane
Daniels, the board work,
and he was very, like, he loved Jane Daniels.
Yep.
And apparently, Shedeur didn't know, like, what was going on. He botched that. And that's why the Giants, they ended up trading in, but I knew it wasn't going to be Shedeur. They were high on Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
So basically, he was choosing where he wanted to go, which is fine, but at the same time,
you can't do that if you're not the guy. Like, you have to be definitively the guy, right? And he's just not. There's too many question marks, which is fair. Right. That's totally fair.
And like we said, I think last week, all these teams, basically for the most part, have quarterbacks.
Right. And you brought that up. It's a great point of some of the reason why he slid was that there's just not a whole lot of teams that need quarterbacks. Teams either have like a solidified guy starter, or they have a young guy they want to see if he pans out or not.
Exactly.
That's probably, I would say, 80 to 85% of the league right now. So there's not a lot of teams that are looking for a quarterback regardless. And then you start looking, like, once he gets past the first round, it's like, okay, now it's backup territory, and you don't want your backup to be like the star of the show. And that's what Shedeur would be. So I think that sort of just encompassed and started the sort of the snowball effect, and then evidently dropped into the fifth round.
why is he clearly the Saints took, a guy that I don't think is a top 10, I think barely a top 10 quarterback in this draft, and Tyler Slough, and he went second round 40 to the Saints. It's like, if you're Shador, why? Like, clearly they didn't want him. Like, why are you botching? Like, New Orleans, yes, they're cap tied, but they're still a better organ. Like, that's such a Browns move to. Obviously, they took Dylan Gabriel, and obviously Shador slid, so they took him in the 5th round.
Yeah.
Like the Browns are trying to QB right, but like, I'm picking the Saints, I'm picking the Raiders, even the Giants. Like, why are you botching interviews on purpose?
Well, I don't know if it was on purpose, but he clearly has a bravado around him, and he has, I see it as confidence, and clearly these teams saw it more as cockiness and arrogance.
Yeah.
I think another big thing too, and it's like the narrative's going to be spun that he's not talented, and that's why he fell so much.
No, it's not the
if
talent.
you start looking at like the guys who were taken before him, like a Tyler Shuck or like a Jalen Milroe, like we all watched
Dylan Gabriel,
but Jalen Milroe specifically, like you watch Jalen Milroe and he's not an NFL quarterback, right? He can't make throws.
He's not.
So once you start seeing guys like that taken before him, who Sanders can make the throws, he can be an NFL guy, right? So now you start looking at it as like it's not a talent issue, right? If it was, and he would have been taken before Jalen Milroe. So it's clearly a character issue, and the fact that like one of our friends said he coaches college football, so he knows. I'm not taking away his knowledge, like it's obviously there, but the fact that he says that I had him as a 4th or 5th round talent is just. And it's after the fact he was drafted. It's like the guy. It's like when you're in class, the teacher asks a question, nobody knows the answer. The teacher says the answer, and some guy in the back goes, "Ah, man, I knew that."
Yeah.
It's like even if you did, it's after the fact, so it doesn't count.
Right.
Yeah, I think it was all. So I think you guys nailed it, the head on the collar. I think a lot of teams didn't need a quarterback, and the teams that. So I think it was more of a personality thing and a Deion Sanders thing. Personally.
Absolutely.
Because, if you look at Deion Sanders, he was one of the best of all time.
Sure.
And he always had that attitude.
Yeah.
He never changed.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of these head coaches are seeing Shador act exactly like Deion, but they're wondering if they could change that man and like turn him to be like maybe a more coachable guy.
Sure.
Or like remove some of that cockiness, and they look at his dad, and he never did.
Yeah.
So maybe
but the flip side of that is like, well, his dad has the talent. Like that was undeniable, and that's why he still went drafted high, even with the circus surrounding him. With Shador, I think there's too many questions, right? And he's not a surefire guy. That why take the risk when the reward's, not as great? It doesn't equal.
Yeah, and the other thing too I wanted to mention. Which is, fucked. I wouldn't have done this. It wasn't funny, but I think it says a lot. The prank call, too, of, I don't know if you guys saw, Jeff Ulbricht's son, Jax Ulbricht, got a hold of Shador Sanders' number, which he got a new phone just for the draft. So you email your phone to teams so they can contact you throughout the draft, and he got basically, not a burner, but like a phone that was only going to use. So obviously his dad, which is the Saints are going to punish his dad. Yeah. They came out and said clearly gave the number to his son, and obviously he prank called Shador. But it's like, if you're Shador, how do you not know this is a prank call? And apparently Tyler Warren got pranked too. But it's clearly not Mickey Lomas, the GM, and so maybe he's just got rocks for brains too.
I don't know, maybe, but I do think he handled it well, though.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He afterwards, he was just like, "Well, that was dumb." He didn't crash out because of it. So I mean, showed some poise, especially in a tough situation where 2 months ago you were thinking that you're going top 5, maybe top 10, and then all of a sudden you fall down to 144th overall. My biggest takeaway, though, and like all these guys that are dancing on his grave, this is the beginning. Like the draft is not the ending; it's the beginning, right? And after the draft, nobody cares where you were drafted. Nobody cares about if you were a 1st round guy or a 6th round guy. You're all rookies trying to make it in the league.
Yep.
And the only thing there's two things that have changed from before the draft to after the draft for Shedeur. One, we know who he's playing for, right? We know he's going to be a Cleveland Brown. And number two, that guy's got a massive chip on his shoulder, right? If you put yourself in his shoes, you're thinking like, wow, there was 143 times a team had a chance to take me and they said no.
Yep.
Right? And if you look at any great quarterback, he has some sort of chip on his shoulder, right? You look at, Brady's the classic example, taking 199. And look how it turned out for him. I'm not sitting here saying that he's going to be Brady.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, the fact that he has that chip on his shoulder now that he wouldn't have had if he was taken high gives me even more confidence in him being a successful quarterback in this league.
And he's got to beat out another rookie too, so he's got to
you can make the argument that he's the best quarterback in that quarterback room.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's like the craziest quarterback room I've ever seen.
Yeah, it is something.
Dylan Gabriel, Kenny Pickett, Shedeur Sanders, Joe Flacco, Deshaun Watson. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Give me Browns Hard Knocks.
But yeah, I think this will just be a huge life lesson for Shedeur.
Yeah.
And as you could tell, like after he realized he got drafted, he was just happy. Yeah. He was just dancing around. So like that didn't break him at all.
Right, exactly.
So like I think that's a huge thing potentially when he comes into the league.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna have bad games, he's gonna have bad performances. But like if you don't let that break you and just bring you down, if you just keep trying to, get yourself back up, maybe he'll become one of those guys.
You're gonna face adversity no matter what when you're in the NFL. In life.
Yeah.
And the fact that he faces adversity at the draft and seemed he seemed collected. He seemed pretty cool.
I watched a lot of the Colorado games, and the one thing you can't say that he's definitely an accurate quarterback.
Oh, 100%.
I watched his highlight tape after too, just to like confirm because like I've been hearing so much Shedeur hate. I'm like, dude, this guy's making throws on the run that I can't see that many quarterbacks making.
100%.
Having I'm still hyped up on him. I really hope.
I'm still very high on him, and I would caution anybody dancing on his grave because this is just the beginning.
Yeah, I just don't like the team he went to. After what they did.
But again, like their draft, and we'll talk about the winners and losers of the draft. But they had a decent draft. They keep Myles Garrett. They're going to have a decent defense. They add Mason Graham, who's going to be a day one impact player, right? So they have a good defense. They have stability at coach with Kevin Stefanski.
Yep,
they have some decent pieces with Njoku.
They added Fannin.
Fannon's going to be a good number two
two
guy.
running backs, Quinshawn and Sampson.
Dylan Sampson from Tennessee, who I liked a lot. And they have Jerry Jeudy there, who was just an all-pro or Pro Bowl player. So they have pieces there. And now you have Shedeur, who's not coming in expected to be the number one guy. He was the last quarterback picked. He was picked after Dylan Gabriel. So now he's coming in just being one of the guys. And I think that could be one of the best thing to happen to him was this.
Yeah, I will say it's like because the Browns obviously had the number 2 pick. Obviously, they traded down to number 5. The Jaguars traded up. So I guess you still went with the team that went that had a top 5 pick, but you just won 140 picks later is all.
Yeah.
So obviously I agree with all of you guys. Like big chip on his shoulder. This is going to only be a good thing for him. But I still don't trust the Browns, and especially in such a tough division. But maybe he works out for a little bit and he does what Baker did, and Baker has obviously gone on to have success.
Yeah.
With the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I just brought up the Jaguars, how they traded up to get Hunter at number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Their GM, I know he's the youngest GM.
Yeah.
He looks 15 years old.
He does.
They got a 15-year-old making NFL decisions, and they got Duval as their head coach.
Yeah, that was such a pussy thing to do.
But I like the aggressiveness in going out and getting Travis Hunter. If you were to make a splash, that's as big of a splash as you're going to make. You help out your quarterback and Trevor Lawrence. You help out your defense with one player. So I'm a fan of it. I don't know. They gave up a little bit to move up. Yeah. But still, Travis Hunter's going to be an impact player on both sides of the ball.
Did you see their GM's quote when they took Travis on why they moved up?
I watched the 1 minute interview and then them clapping after. It was just really really weird.
It's a weird
salad to me.
Yeah.
It's a weird room to be in for sure. But no, he was like, there's good players, there's great players, and then there's like once in a generational player that you trade out. It was like something like that, but like even more cringy. But no, yeah, it's a good. I mean, obviously, it's going to be interesting where Hunter goes or what he plays. I think they want him to be a wide receiver and then playing some packages on defense, is what I read after they drafted him. It's going to be interesting though to see how this all plays out and if he's just in packages on defense. If he's going to be upset that he wants to play more, and obviously he's a good kid, great work ethic, but especially in Jacksonville, who's already shaky with their history of their franchise. Will he be upset with them in the long run? So
I think the guy who's the happiest has got to be Trevor Lawrence.
Absolutely.
He's going to have Brian Thomas and Travis Hunter to throw to now, and really this is a huge year for Trevor Lawrence. He's battled a lot of injuries. He's shown some flashes of greatness, but can he get it done? And can he lead Jacksonville back to the playoffs? Yep. Now he really doesn't have any excuses. He has to stay healthy. That's the biggest thing.
He's in a weaker division.
He's in a weaker division. He's got two stud athletes on the outside. He's got a good running back behind him in ETN. Solid defense.
Tank's a good backup too.
Yep, exactly. So he's got to prove. This is a big prove it year for him.
Titans rookie quarterback. Colts, I don't know what the fuck they're doing. Obviously, Houston has been the juggernaut in that division, but still they have injury issues. And I mean, if you win your head-to-head matchups, you're likely going to win that division.
Yep.
Can I say something real quick about
Yeah,
Trevor
of
Lawrence?
course.
I just want to say something about Trevor Lawrence. What you brought up, absolutely agree. I think he might have the most pressure going into the season on anyone.
Yeah.
Compared to anyone.
Yeah.
Like, for relevance and just being the quarterback that he was, the star he was coming out of Clemson.
Yeah.
Because, they won that game against the Chargers when they were down 27-3 or whatever.
Yep.
And then he threw 4 picks in the first half. And then the next year, they needed to win 1 out of their next 7 games in the playoffs, and they lose all their 7 games and then miss the playoffs.
They won 1-6. I think they just had to win twice. But I don't blame him that much. Obviously, ahead of the face of the franchise, but he was playing hurt, and it's the Jaguars. They found a way to fuck up everything. But no, it goes on your resume, and obviously last year they were one of the worst teams in the league. So
yeah, I'm just saying he's got to prove a lot of people.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Oh, absolutely.
He's got to prove a lot of people.
He's probably it's probably the biggest year on any quarterback is he's probably got to prove the most this year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Winners and losers. We'll start with you, Heffa. With your winner or loser, whatever you want to start.
Yeah.
with.
So one of my winners was the Cleveland Browns. Even if they didn't pick Shadur Sanders, I think they would have been the winner because that trade they made with the Jacksonville Jaguars was very beneficial for them.
Mm-hmm.
They got an extra second, and then they got their next year's first. And I don't think the Jags are going to be that good next year. So I think they're going to have a pretty good first-round pick next year.
Yeah, I guess the Jacksonville's banking on being good next year, but it's hit or miss. You never know. Trevor Lawrence, if he can stay healthy, I like their chances, but that's the question. Can he stay healthy?
Exactly. And they also got a bunch of offensive weapons that they needed because their offense was getting a little bit old.
Yeah.
I mean, Chubb is not the running back he used to be.
I think he's gone. I don't think they signed him.
Yeah, he's not there anymore. So, and then they got Quinshawn Judkins and Dylan Sampson, who I liked.
I like Sampson.
Yeah, I liked him a lot too. So that's gonna be
he runs hard.
Gonna be a good 1-2 punch. And they got Harold Fannin, one of our boys, coached him.
Shout out JT.
Yeah, shout out McCarthy.
I think Stefanski likes the 2 tight end system. So now him having Njoku and Fannin potentially as tight end 2 for whoever's going to play quarterback for him, I think is going to be beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, the quarterback is the one piece that is a question mark.
Yeah.
But
you always have Cool Joe back there.
Yeah, you always got Cool Joe Flacco, Super Bowl winner. And so, yeah, and that trade, they got so many valuable assets.
That was a good trade.
That was an unbelievable trade for the Browns. And we'll see how Travis Hunter is in the NFL. We're assuming he's going to be really good.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and you probably get the guy you wanted with Mason Graham, complemented with Myles Garrett.
That's going to be scary.
That's going to be deadly.
Yeah. And, I mean, the two quarterbacks they got, Dylan Gabriel, listen, I think he has all the tools you need to be a good quarterback. He's just too small.
Small, yeah.
I think that's the one pick that they didn't nail.
Yeah, but I do think that it warrants a pick to at least see what he can do. You've seen small quarterbacks have some success in this league. Drew Brees, Russell Wilson sort of come to mind. He's a little bit smaller than those guys. But, you alluded to Daniel Jeremiah before, and he mentioned on a podcast that, he likes Dylan Gabriel, and if he had to pick one late-round quarterback to be a guy who can start in this league, it'd be Dylan Gabriel.
And he went second day, so he went up a little higher than probably most people thought.
At least it's maybe not a steal in some people's eyes, but talent-wise, it's a steal to get Shador in the 5th round. So 2 low-risk, high-reward picks, and then you just see if someone can play quarterback for you.
Yeah, was that your winner too, maybe?
That is one of my winners, yes.
Who's your other winner?
Hef.
My other winner was the Arizona Cardinals. I think they got one of the steals of the draft and Will Johnson.
Will Johnson, yeah.
Yep.
I couldn't believe he went that far. I know he has some injury concerns, but we know what the Cardinals' problem is, and they can't play really good defense.
Right.
They're not a good defensive team, and I think I think he'll be the perfect fit.
They have a good culture over there. They're starting to get more talent. You went to the game, so you saw it live last year with the Lions when they played. That, and it ended up fucking the Lions. They did win that game in the long haul because they got a lot of injuries in that game. It was just such a physical game. I think that was the most physical game the Lions played. So, Jonathan Gannon, explosives, pew, pew, pew.
Pew, 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 pew.
He's got a great culture over there, so I think once they get more talent like with Will Johnson, I think they're going to be a very dangerous team.
Yeah, and they also, in their 2nd and 3rd rounds, they got 2 defensive tackles to, get rid of that weakness they had in Jordan Birch and Walter Nolan. So they went strictly defense, and I think that's exactly what they had to do. And I think they got one of the steals in the draft in Will Johnson. Could be my Michigan bias, but I don't know.
I think Nolan's going to be a steal in the draft, too. He was, I think, a top-tier defensive lineman and him falling. Where did he go, 2nd or 3rd round?
Yeah, 2nd or 3rd. One of them went 2nd, one of them went 3rd.
Yeah, that's no, they're building an identity over there, kind of similar to what the Lions have done over the years.
Yeah.
And they're going to be making some noise.
Yeah, on the offensive side, I'm not worried about him. I'm a little higher on Kyler than you guys are. I think you guys are a little low on him, right? Like, kind of.
He's talented, but I don't know if you can win a championship with him.
Okay,
yeah, I agree. He can take you. He's taken them to the playoffs.
Yeah,
but there's a ceiling there.
Yeah, I think I'm a little higher on him, and I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is gonna have one of those like
breakout
years that all those second year receivers have. And yeah, I'm excited to watch the Arizona Cardinals. They're always one of my favorite teams to watch, actually, just because it's also really fun to watch Kyler Murray play football.
It is. He's exciting.
Little midget running around. I love those memes with him.
That's a great meme. It gets me every time. Maven, your other winner.
Do you have any other? That's it?
Do you want me to just say all mine right now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay, my other winner is the Ravens.
Yep.
Yes.
Malachi Starks.
Great pick.
Great safety. Probably one of the best safeties in the draft.
Yeah.
Or if not the best safety in the draft. It always seems like the Ravens, same like the Eagles.
Yep.
Like they always get those guys that you never think would reach them.
The rich get richer.
Exactly.
Sorry to cut you off. Because Maven just said it and you partially said it too, Huff. My winner was the rich get richer because what happens with, like you mentioned the Ravens, why they always get good picks. The Eagles always get good picks because the Eagles, they took a linebacker, in the first round in Jahad Campbell. The Ravens, who they took, obviously, Kyle Hamilton, they took him, I think, in the teens a couple years ago. And then, obviously, Malachi Starks, who fell to 26, 27. Is the teams before them, they take, like, best player available or, like, best position to need, I should say. And where the Ravens, the Eagles, Now the Lions are starting to do this. The
Chiefs,
although they took tackle, was what position they need, but they took the best player available. They take the best player available. They don't take.
Dirty goal.
Yeah,
Panthers just tied it up 2-2. They take the best player available, not like the Lions. They needed a DN. They didn't take a DN until the 6th round. So they take a guy that's going to help build their culture to an already strong culture and to a strong team, and they just load up. So obviously, I think for a decade plus, the Ravens are going to have the best safety room and safety pair, and along with the Lions for the next decade. And then the Chiefs taking a tackle which is huge. I mentioned the Lions; they didn't take a DN until the 6th round. They took a defensive tackle who they know that Ali McNeil is probably not going to play until the second half of the season. And that's with them. Obviously, DJ Reader, he's on his last year of his contract, but knowing they have him and Roy Lopez from the Cardinals, and they re-signed Levi Onwuzurike, so they still had some players, but they still took Williams for the future. And then the Eagles too. So those 4 teams, the Eagles just SEC, the Bama, Georgia. They just take the best player available, and
they kill it.
The rich get richer, and it's crazy. Like every year, it seems like and obviously the lower teams, they have more holes to fill because obviously they're not as good. But it's just crazy. Like even there's going to be some undrafted guys that are studs. There's just so much talent in the NFL.
Yeah.
Where like you said, we said with Sanders, it doesn't matter where you go, just as long as you're in a team and prove that you belong.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, the Eagles, speaking of that, the Eagles, they had one of the best defenses maybe ever last year.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
First 5 picks, all defense.
Yeah, they killed it. They were one of my other winners as well. So
yep.
Campbell,
And also,
I forget who their second pick was, but it was another good pick.
I don't remember.
But two strong, I think it was a safety. So they get a linebacker and a safety. Linebacker sort of a position of need. They have Bond. But they get a running mate with him who, he can he can tackle and cover.
And,
that's what you need from
Dean,
linebackers.
right? Nakobe Dean?
Yep.
Dean's
He's coming back from an injury.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So they have those 3 guys, and they're just loading up everywhere.
Yeah. Also for the Ravens, let's not forget, they also got a guy who was talked about highly and through the mock drafts was also a steal, Mike Green.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, edge rusher.
Yep.
He had what issues with off the field maybe or something like that?
Yeah,
I believe so, but I don't know exactly what it was.
Yeah, he had something going on which made him fall a little bit. And then they got, in the 3rd round, they drafted Emory Jones, who's an offensive lineman who, would just protect Lamar. I think they're building their team the correct way.
Yep.
And, yeah, I'm excited to see that improved Ravens defense and see how those guys mesh together. And then my other winner, solely because, they did something they usually never do. And that
Packers?
It is the Green Bay Packers. Just because they drafted two wide receivers. They drafted Golden in with their 1st round pick.
Yep.
Coming out of Texas, and then they drafted Savion Williams from TCU.
Yeah.
So obviously the Packers before this year were known for just having a lot of receivers. Christian Watson, the speedster, he keeps getting hurt, so you can't really rely on him.
They have good receivers. They just injury prone.
Jaden Reed's a good player, but he was really inconsistent. He didn't even have a catch in the big game against the Lions at Ford Field. 0 catches. So they just need that one guy who Jordan Love can really look to every single time on the field. And the only reason I'm giving him a high grade is because they did something that they never did with Aaron Rodgers there.
Yeah.
Is pick a wide receiver in the 1st round.
Since 2003.
Aaron Rodgers got to be shaking his head right now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's a good point, Hef. We could look back at this draft in 3 years, and Matthew Golden could be the best receiver from this draft. That's very, very possible. Yeah, I do. I like the Packers finally, getting out of their comfort zone and taking a skill player early. That's commendable.
What was sweet about that is the "Go Pack Go" chant when he was walking out.
Yeah, that's
that
pretty
was
cool.
sweet. That gave me chills. Obviously, we're not Packers fans, but that was probably the coolest part of Game 1 and the weekend, honestly.
Any other winners and losers?
Those are all my winners. I didn't really do losers.
Okay.
But losers off the top of my head, I'd have to think about that.
I only had one loser, and that was the Texans, and we talked about them a little bit earlier. The only reason I would say the losers is I don't have anything against the players that they picked, but the biggest issue, and everybody saw it, and you know it as a Texans organization, the biggest issue was protecting C.J. Stroud.
Yep.
And they did take a tackle with one of their first 3 picks, but 2 of their first 3 picks were receivers. And one of them was an O-lineman, a tackle, I believe. And it's like, all right, receiver may be a need, but it's clear that the O-line is the thing that you need to address. So why not take – me personally, I would have taken 3 tackles or 3 O-linemen in general, right?
Yeah.
2 at least. But instead, they take 1 O-lineman and take 3 receivers.
Good point.
It's not like C.J. Stroud needs more weapons. Like, it would always be nice to have more, right? But you already have Nico Collins. You know Tank Dell's going to be around sometime soon. And you also have John Mechie, who I like a lot as well. So I get it if you like a guy, a receiver, and you want to also –
Do they still have Robert Woods, by the way?
No, he just actually signed with somebody. I forget who.
Oh, okay. Yeah, keep going, sorry.
Forgot my train of thought.
Fuck, my bad.
No, you're fine.
You were talking about C.J. Stroud not wanting receivers.
Yeah, like it's okay if you want to get him more weapons. It's great and all, but you to me, you take best player available when you can. But if you have such a glaring need at O-line, you should be addressing that.
What did they get
right away.
for Tunsil? Was it just
I think it was
picks?
draft capital.
Yeah. I agree. They definitely need to beef up their obviously offensive line, and that was a big problem. And I guess you can kind of call it a regression for Stroud. He had a great rookie year. They still want to basically match his rookie year in terms of winning the division and winning a playoff game. But here's the thing with the receivers. Obviously, they're not banking on Tank Dell to play much longer for them after his second injury in as many years to start his career, and it looks like he's going to be out for most of the year. So I can understand why they did that, and maybe they'll make a trade or sign an offensive lineman in the future. But
if they do that would make more sense. But right now, it's sort of a perplexing draft for them. On to my winners, though, I had 2 of the same as half the Browns and the Eagles. So I won't dive into those too much. Hef already did a great job. My other 2 winners, though, the Bears.
Yeah.
Another division team. Now, you guys know my thoughts on the Bears. I'm not too high on the Bears. But credit to them. They went out swinging. Ben Johnson got 2 more offensive weapons for Caleb Williams. And Colston Loveland's going to be a stud. Mm-hmm. There was about 5 or 6 guys in this draft that you thought, okay, these are safe picks. These guys are going to be, anything could happen, but you could safely say these guys are going to be decent to above average to Pro Bowl players if they stay healthy, and Colston Loveland's one of them. I think he's the best tight end in this class, and they have him and Cole Kmet at tight end. Ben Johnson's salivating at the prospect of having those 2 guys, and then you add Luther Burden with your second pick, which a little bit of a surprise to go receiver since they have those 3 guys already with Odunze, DJ Moore, and Keenan Allen. But Keenan Allen's getting a little older.
He's going to be off the roster, I would assume, pretty soon.
Pretty soon. So Luther Burden, another guy who was projected as a top 10, top 15 pick early on, and sort of slid down some draft boards, but he's electric once he has the ball in his hands. And just another weapon for Caleb Williams, so I love what they did there. And they picked up some O-linemen. Shout out Rice. They picked up a brother Rice O-lineman, Luke Newman, a Michigan State alum as well.
Isn't that 2 Rice O-linemen now?
Larry Borum's plays for the Dolphins now.
Oh, he does.
Yeah. So they picked up some O-line depth later on in the draft, which I liked. A good first draft for the Ben Johnson era in Chicago. And then my last winner, I'm wearing him.
Patriots.
The Pats.
Let's
The
go.
Pats, I think, killed it. Everybody sort of knew
Yep.
what they were going to do, and that was to address and help Drake May as much as possible. And what did they do? They went out and get Will Campbell, who's going to protect him. I was sort of wary on Will Campbell. Love him now. I loved his interview.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to die for Drake May. I love it. That's what you want from your O-lineman.
Yeah.
They picked up a center in the 3rd or 4th round as well, so that's key. I mean, that's the most important position in terms of, like, constant communication with your quarterback. So I like getting a young center, see if he can, build a relationship with Drake May. And then they picked up 2 skill guys. I forget who in the 2nd and 3rd round. So just more weapons for Drake May. It's all about helping Drake May as much as possible. They, in free agency, addressed a lot of the defensive needs that they had, and now they have addressed a lot of the offensive needs they have, and Mike Vrabel seems to have this thing rolling.
Yeah, going back on the Bears is what I didn't understand with them is they weren't happy with the Loveland pick. They wanted Tyler Warren. I'm like,
Who?
my friends in Illinois.
Chicago?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're Bears fans, and I was like, well, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Obviously, being a Michigan fan, obviously I have some bias, but he's just so much more versatile than or in terms of catching the ball. Obviously, Warren can block. Is a better blocker, and you can put him in multiple positions. But obviously, the Bears they want to spread it out. And ironically, Loveland said he watches Sam Laporta tape, and obviously
Really?
Ben Johnson is
No.
he models this game.
He probably
after
loved
Laporta.
that.
So obviously Johnson was like, yeah, let me get one of these guys. So I think that worked out well for them, and I think it was a good thing that Genty didn't fall because they might have liked Genty more. I'm not sure how their board panned out, but I think that was a best case scenario, and they're going to be they're putting a lot of weapons around Caleb, and they're going to be very good in no time. Probably, I know half you love them going into next year as a potential wild card, even maybe potentially winning the division.
Love the Bears next year.
But and they beefed up their defense, which they needed to too. So, yeah, they're headed in the right direction. It seems like they might have their franchise guy in Caleb Williams, and like I said, they're building strongly around him, and their defense. They're always known for defense. And I went back. It was 2 weeks ago, I think. 2 weeks ago, on the pod half, you called their defense great, which I don't know what the fuck you were watching last week or last year. But they eventually will have a very good defense because that's what they're known for. But no, they do not have a great defense. They have good pieces. Brisker was hurt last year. I'm a big fan of him, and obviously Jalen Johnson. But you can't be having a great defense when you're pointing to the stands and taunting the fans, and you give up a Hail Mary touchdown.
That's a good point, Bean.
That was a bad play.
Good point. And then just a couple more things I wanted to add on the Patriots. So their second pick was Travion Henderson, who I love that pick. I'm actually surprised that Quinshon Judkins was taken over him. But Travion Henderson has a chance to be a 3-down back in this league. Exceptional pass protector as a running back. And the wear and tear on his body is not that high. He doesn't have a whole lot of mileage because he split a lot of his carries throughout his college career.
Yep.
So I love that pick as well. And they picked up Kyle Williams from Washington State, a receiver. Hand up, don't know anything about him.
But you love it.
I love it because you just need more receivers, more weapons for Drake May. You already have Steph Diggs, so you add some younger pieces. I just love everything the Patriots are doing.
Yeah, and I only have one loser. We'll end it on here. We touched on it earlier. Mel Kiper is my loser. Looking like an ass clown. I think it's time for ESPN lays off people every year. It's time Mel is next.
Maybe
The Bears let up one of the most yards this year, the 27th or the third or fifth most yards in the NFL this year, but they were tied for 5th in touchdowns allowed. So they didn't allow many touchdowns. They only allowed 37 touchdowns in the year, but they allowed a lot of yards. So I guess both of us.
What about point? Well, no.
37 total touchdowns allowed.
I also
points per
correct
game?
me if I'm wrong, but their defense got substantially worse once they fired Eberflus.
Yeah, I mean they won 5 games last year. They had a 11-game losing streak. It wasn't just on the offense; they were losing games on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
At that point,
But the defense is good, like you said. They have the pieces. It's just it's the same thing with the offense.
They'll be gun suited,
right? They look like a really good team on paper, but can they put it together? Knowing the Bears, I would bet against it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chicago was 14th in points allowed, so they were like just around middle of the pack, 21.8.
So
the lowest was Philadelphia at 18.1. So they were right around the middle.
So they were mid at best.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I didn't, like I said, I guess it's with the Lions being so low in the draft, even though they were last year. I didn't follow the draft as much this year.
Yeah,
so.
I did like you brought up the edge that we took, Hassanin.
Yes,
he was one of the impact players on the Boise State defense, and I think he's going to be. I think he could possibly be a starter, at least a rotational edge rusher for us. Yeah. I think he's going to be a good player for us. And then just overall, I mean, I didn't include us as one of the winners, but I do think we won the draft just simply because we have Brad Holmes. But you look at the guys that we picked, like not the Ratledge guard, but the other guard that we took. A lot of guys, Frazier. A lot of people were saying that he fell a considerable amount more than they thought, and so more guard depth. Ratledge, who I already love, a lot of people were loving on him. Williams, Coach Saban said he's one of his sleepers. So I'll take Coach Saban for his word. I'm pretty sure he knows what he's talking about.
And they traded 3 third-round picks to move up to get Andy Tesla.
Yeah, Tesla. So
is that his first name, Andy?
I don't know, but if you're doing that, you must believe in this guy, and he's a hometown kid, so I'm sure we're gonna get his all.
Yeah, I heard. I saw some stat. I'm just gonna assume it's true. It was like. There was like an athleticism scale, like at the combine or whatever.
Yeah.
And it had him like ranked 9th.
The RAS.
Yeah, the 9th biggest athlete since like 2000.
Whoa.
Or some shit like that. I don't know if that was true. I could have been a Lions TikTok or whatever, but that's the stat I saw.
We also took 2 Bulldogs at the end of the draft as well.
Yeah, they drafted 3.
I don't know much about the safety, but people are saying that he's a hard hitter, and that's always nice to have. But then the receiver that we took, I forget his name. I'm blanking on his name. But
Dominic Lovett.
Lovett, that's what it was. So he was open a lot, and he got the Carson Beck threw the ball a lot, but he just had some issues with drops.
Yeah.
All year it seemed like the Georgia Bulldog receivers couldn't really. They had some issues with drops, but he was. I mean, if you're open, you're doing something right. So
yeah,
I love the top down. The draft was great for the Lions.
You'll start doing that Amon-Ra St. Brown catching drill every day with him.
There you go. Get rid of the drops.
Yeah, the Hassanin video, that was great. I'm ready to die for you, Coach. That
was awesome.
He's
the man.
It's crazy, like how Holmes and obviously Campbell's identity. It's like how everyone that they either get in free agency or draft, like everyone, or I guess trade for too. They just fit their culture.
Yep.
That's what I love about the Lions, and that's why you can't really second guess what Campbell or Holmes does in the draft, because they're gonna fit their culture and they're not gonna be prima donnas, and they're gonna come in and work their ass off. So, anything else on the draft, boys?
No,
that's it.
All right, moving on. We got some, obviously, the NBA. A lot of this series are through Game 4. We got 2 Game 4s tonight, so by the time you hear this, we're on to Game 5s. Obviously, 2 series, or 1 series is ended, well, the other one's about to end in the Cavs and Heat. I don't know why you jumped the Grizzlies ship hef and stayed with the Heat after they traded Jimmy and won 37 games. But nonetheless, I guess that's one of your teams that you like. You can enjoy losing 45 games a year and getting swept in the first round. That's not a problem with me, I guess. You enjoy losing. But the Thunder also swept your former Grizzlies. I couldn't understand why you left, even though Josh said I was just starting to figure them out.
You're just starting to figure him out, Hef.
So how pissed were you when you saw Ja go down in Game 3 after they were up 29 and blew a 26-point halftime lead?
If only it was first to 5, because Ja hadn't figured out.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, you can't. Who knows? He could have.
That's true.
They were up 29.
That's the biggest what if in sports. What if how Ja had one more game?
Yeah, I mean, they were up 29 points, and then the game 4, they didn't have Ja at all, obviously. And it was a close game. It was a pretty
lost
good.
by 2.
Lost by 2. So I'm not going to sit here and say they would have won the series because I don't think they would have at all.
But your 6-game
Could
prediction
have been a lot
been
different.
true.
It's like Mark Wahlberg with 9/11. Things would have went down differently. If Ja
I was
there.
worse. I had OKC in 7.
Bro, how? Why don't you believe in the Thunder? Thunder, fuck.
Well, I had the Thunder in the Western Conference Finals. So, I mean, I did have some
And
sort of
who'd you have them beating or losing to?
I had the Lakers winning. Maven had the Lakers, too.
I do.
Wait, didn't you have him winning at all?
Probably.
Yeah.
If you're,
Why don't you grill him?
I based
we were
it
talking
more
about
on,
you.
I based it more on storyline. You know, I didn't actually believe. Like, I believe what I said was in my head, I'm thinking Celtics, Thunder, but my heart wants Lakers, Cavs.
I had Lakers going to the Western Conference Finals, so I'm kind of in a similar boat. But after I only needed to see Game 1 to change them, to change Timberwolves in 6, and that's what's going to happen.
Maybe 5.
Yeah, it could be at least 6. Probably, yeah, maybe 5. They're Lakers.
They're bad.
Rosters.
Lakers
is
are bad.
trash.
Jackson Hayes.
I said last week, you can't be given empty minutes, bro.
I saw a tweet about Jackson Hayes, and it was like, imagine the horror of like pouring in millions of dollars for trainers and for chefs and for eating right and practicing for your whole life, and then still just being ass at basketball.
It was weird because, I mean, he was showing like he was never going to be like a dominant player. No, like that's not what you need to be when you're around LeBron and Luka.
Right.
You just need to be like, like have something.
Yeah,
And
he has nothing.
He was doing pretty good in the regular season.
We
at the
got
end of the regular
duped.
season.
After the Mark Williams trade, the Luka trade, obviously, and the Mark Williams trade that didn't go through. Hayes played well, but obviously we all got duped.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think the story of that series, and I think it's one of my storylines of the NBA right now, and it's Anthony Edwards.
Ant-Man.
Yep.
Obviously, shout out Pat. That's one of Pat's boys.
Shout
Been one
out.
of his boys since day one.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Shout out
He
P.
improved every single metric that he had in the regular season to the playoffs. So he averages 29.8 points per game, 5.7 rebounds, 4.5 assists. And he's averaging 3 more points in the playoffs than the regular season, 2 more rebounds in the playoffs, 1.5 more assists, around the same field goal percentage, 4 percentage higher than 3-point, and 2 less turnovers per game. So talk about a playoff performer,
Killing
and who
it.
proved it last year.
Yeah.
Who a lot of people thought we all had the Lakers winning the series. We didn't know if they could repeat it from last year, and wow, were we wrong.
And he's slaying these NBA legends. Last year it was KD.
Yep.
This year it's LeBron. And I love it too. I texted in our group chat either game
And
2.
Jokic too.
Yeah, and Jokic. I texted either game 2 or game 3. Like, I want to see Ant go at LeBron, and he did in game 4. He went right after him, was in his grill, and I love it, man. The guy is fearless, and I think that's what makes him so exciting to watch. Obviously, he's a athletic freak, and he jumps out the gym, but he just plays with no fear at all, and just complete confidence in his ability.
Panthers just
Florida
tied it up.
I thought they already tied it up.
They did, but it got called back.
He's the most humble and cocky guy I've ever seen in my life.
I don't feel like he's humble.
Dude, every single post-game
Send the
interview.
video.
Yeah, post-game
Send
interview
the
right
video.
away. He's like, shout out DiVincenzo, shout out them. He goes,
I do think he does a great job of like bringing the limelight to his teammates, which is such a great like leader trait to have. Like,
Yeah.
I saw post game interview with DiVincenzo, like you were talking about, and he was like, "Yeah, Dante like tells me what the defense is doing. Like, he does such a great job of identifying the defense because sometimes I don't. Like, the humility to be able to be like, hey, I know I'm the star, but to share the limelight with my teammates as well." Is such a great trait, and the respect I've had for Ant has only gone up through this series.
it's crazy too because like at one point in the game, like LeBron and Anthony Edwards will be laughing together.
Yeah.
And then the next thing, like Ant's just shoving and pushing LeBron, like screaming at him, "Let's fucking go!"
It's
like
awesome.
It's just like he could just flip a switch just like that.
Yeah.
And you know, the Timberwolves, oh my gosh.
With 3.5 minutes left.
I should have bet
just scored
Panthers.
Should go with the Panthers. Yeah.
2 goals.
But yeah, I think Anthony Edwards is one of my storylines for this year's playoffs.
Yeah.
And, you know, as you mentioned, he beat LeBron, he beat KD, he beat Jokic.
Yeah. Potentially going to have to
beat
face
LeBron.
Steph.
And potentially going to have to face Steph. So I think that would be a great series. And I think
Or Fred VanVleet.
I was so wrong. And I think the Timberwolves are top 4 title contenders right now.
I'm rooting for them.
I want to see them. I want to see them win, man. I love Ant. I just like watching Ant. Like
now
There-
you love
there
Ant.
are-
Interesting.
yeah,
How it's flipped just like that.
Going to LeBron and then hopping off of LeBron and onto Ants.
Well, it was never LeBron. It was Luka.
16
Even though
Gs.
he made the bet right before Luka.
Yeah.
It's still he fell in love with the team because of money and Luka.
Yeah. I'm right there with you though.
yeah,
Haf.
for sure. I love Luka.
I find myself rooting for a few teams. I find myself rooting for the Wolves because of Ant, Golden State Warriors because of Steph and how incredible he's been.
Yep.
Really, those are the only 2 teams. Everybody, I can't find myself to root for anybody in the East because I just see them all as enemies.
Rivals. I guess I'll stick with one of my storylines because it's with that series. And before I bring up the storyline is the length of the T-Wolves. Obviously, they gave the defending champs last year in the Denver Nuggets some big-time problems. Jokic, obviously, he still played well in that series, but they took a 2-0 series lead because they were just so much more physical. And, it's become that they made Jackson Hayes unplayable. He's getting like 7 minutes a night.
Well, they played that lineup the whole second half.
And Dorian
First time that's ever happened.
Yeah.
Dorian Finney-Smith is getting 41 minutes a game. And
Piggy
it's like,
Smith.
Yeah, Dorian Piggy Smith. And it's like he's playing out of position. He's not like he's got Rudy Gobert, Naz Reid, even Jaden McDaniels, who Finney-Smith is bigger, but and Alexander Walker, all those guys, they can match that physicality and some. And then this leads me to my point is there was a reason why Austin Reeves was undrafted. He's a bum, certified bum.
Not in golf. He's a plus.
He did miss a lot of big shots at the end of that game.
Struggled in the first 3 games to shoot. He made 5 of 12 yesterday, but missed the big one at the end.
Yep.
And bro, you cannot foul up to with 40 seconds to go.
Yeah, that was such a bad foul.
Like, what are you doing, bro?
But I mean, you look at LeBron too. LeBron didn't have a point in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, that's true. But I think Austin Reeves
And he had that one shot that was like off the side of the backboard.
Yeah.
What
That
was
was
that all
bad.
about?
That was game 3, right? Yeah, that was game 3.
No, that was the last game.
No, that was game 3 because we were all here watching it.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
yeah,
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
It was in the 4th quarter though. Obviously, yeah, Austin Reeves, good player, but
But he's not built for it.
I think they just scored an empty netter, maybe
Yeah,
3
they
goals
did.
for the.
Are you saying AR's not built for
He's
it?
not. You can win with him as a 4 or 5. You can't win with him as a 3. And
Interesting.
he's the best number 3 in the league. No,
Or maybe you can win with him as a 3, but you got to have more pieces around. Like they just don't have enough pieces.
they're very But how are you going to get those pieces too? Yeah,
That's true. That's really the only trade asset is him.
Yeah.
Like, you're not trading LeBron at this age.
But
you're
not
trading
going to
Luka.
get realistically. You're not getting Giannis because you don't have. Like, you're not getting a Luka 2.0 trade.
Right.
Like, you would have to trade Reeves, but they don't have any picks.
Right.
You would have to basically trade the rest of your roster
Yeah.
to get Giannis at this point. So, very disappointing playoff for him. Again, they can turn it around, but I don't see it going back to LA for Game 7, and it might not even make it to Minnesota for Game 6.
Agreed.
So, I think, the T-Wolves they're the second best team, in my opinion, to come out of the West. I would like the Clippers, but the Clippers, obviously, they still gotta beat the Nuggets, and then if they win, they gotta beat the Thunder too. So that side of the bracket is harder. So I like the T-Wolves to make it to the conference finals again for the 2nd year in a row. So that's been a big storyline, and then I'll just go into my second one is. It is kind of a storyline every year, but the physicality that the refs are letting them
Yes,
play.
Love it.
absolutely.
And obviously yes, they allow more physicality, and the defense, people actually try in the playoffs. But this has led to the lowest scoring in the playoffs. Obviously, it's just through round one since 2018.
Whoa.
So since we were freshmen in college. So
Good stats.
yeah, and obviously
Bean dropping the heat.
yeah.
poor shooting, has obviously helped that. Like the Pistons, they had 32 points with like 90 seconds left in Game 4 yesterday. But like, I guess it's like the Stars get the calls too, because like Hardaway, like that Hardaway shot, like Brunson's getting that call 100 times out of 100.
For sure.
And that pool report, it's just like, don't do that. Like
It's just a
I
gut
wanted
punch.
to,
annoying.
It doesn't make anyone else feel better.
I know. I wanted to die after that.
Yeah.
And here's the thing too: the refs have to be honest too, because if they lie, and they also, the NBA, they review every call, they go back and rewatch the 2 minutes every call, and they also will back up like this was a wrong call, this was a right call, this was marginal contact, so on and so forth. So if you lie in your pool report, the NBA is going to give you less assignments in the playoffs. So it's like they can't bullshit, or they're just screwing themselves anyways. So yeah, that physicality, which I love, but it's like it's just become almost like football. So like, I just wish we would see more consistency in the regular season in terms of the physicality, and I would just wish the players would actually play defense, because like it's fun basketball, don't get me wrong, but sometimes it's it looks like football out there for sure.
Ernie Johnson brought up a decent point of like, why not just have like a eye in the sky type person who can come in those like critical moments, like Hardaway's shot to end the game. Someone who can step in and be like, hey, this is a foul. And that's a game-changing play, a series-changing play. And, like, let's get the correct call going instead of just a pool report that kills me.
Yeah, it sucks. For those of you guys who don't know, we all went to a Pistons playoff game. Me and Maven went to Game 3 against the Knicks, and Bean went to Game 4. We both didn't come out with wins, which sucks.
Tried our best, man. We were out there.
Lost by a total of 3 points and lost both games.
It was loud.
We left everything on the court.
But I do want to say this in that series. That call sucked. That call did suck.
It did.
But we also have to remember that first half we played. And we didn't do ourselves any favors.
Yeah, I feel like less bad about. I mean, obviously, I don't like losing, and that sucked the way that we lost. But good point, Brian. It's like in Game 3, we didn't deserve to win that game whatsoever. We came out so flat, and then in Game 4 as well, we sort of came out flat as well. And it's like there's so many instances throughout the game where we could have won, and it shouldn't have come down to the last play of the game. And unfortunately, it did. But
you still like Miami plus 8.5?
No.
Currently, it's 135 versus 76.
I should have alternate spread Cavs minus 58.
Bro, they almost got doubled up, bro. What were you thinking? Why do you I called you out. Why do you like backing up a team that had won 37 games?
I'll step in.
I mean, I'm not gonna.
You picked the Cavs in 6, bro. They didn't even come close to winning a game.
Yeah. I'm not gonna. I mean, just because they didn't have a good season doesn't mean I'm just gonna like. What do you want me to do? Just
bro, they were. If this was 5 years ago, bro, they wouldn't even been in the playoffs.
Do you want me to just stop watching them play?
No, but that doesn't mean you have to pick them to win games.
Well, and the gambling's different.
Why is that a problem?
Gambling's different.
Because they were fucking losing by almost getting
Why'd you-
doubled up.
why'd you pick
That's
the
why
Lakers?
it's a problem.
Why'd you pick the Lakers to win games?
Well, they're not. They didn't fucking win 37 games. They were the 3 seed, bro. They were the favorites. This team didn't even deserve to make the playoffs.
It's called a bold take.
It's called an ass take.
Okay. Everyone. I mean, I don't think your playoff prediction's going amazing either.
I mean, again, you're deflecting. You love to deflect. You can call it a bad a bad take.
Yeah.
Hey,
An
you took a big swing.
I'm not going to leave the Heat though. That's for sure. I'm going to stay.
Well,
with
you
them.
should.
You took a big swing, and sometimes you miss big.
I'm not
Sometimes
gonna-
you hit big.
I'm not going to leave the Heat like being left the Nugs.
Ooh.
You left the. I'm still a Nuggets fan, but you left.
No. You said
Hold the phone.
I said it's
Time
my last
out.
dance.
Time out. Yeah,
I'm still here.
You already put an expiration date down.
Yeah.
Well, you left the Grizzlies. So.
You're deflecting now. You're doing the same thing I'm doing.
I said it's my last dance. I mean, yeah.
But
sure.
you just called me out for deflecting, and you just
I
deflected.
That's
said
true.
it's my. I didn't. Well,
Get fucked.
technically, you're wrong.
How
I'm
so?
still a Nuggets fan. So you're.
Why'd you deflect though?
But you have your contract runs out. You already said your contract runs out.
Okay, sure,
at the
but
end of the season.
I'm still a fan as of today.
It didn't sound like in the group chat. You were just saying go Kawhi.
I was trying to get you hyped.
You also did leave the Nuggets for a 2-week period.
No,
Maybe
I
a
mean
week
I
period.
never said I was done with them this season. You can go back and record the tape. I said I can't do this again, rooting for the Pistons and the Nuggets. Which, the reason why, like, I'm not having a second team like you have. It's time to go all in on the Pistons, but you're gonna fucking root for a 37-win team because you're a fucking bum. But anyways, I said it's my last dance, so I'm still with the Nuggets.
So mad.
I'm still. Well, you're calling me out and bullshitting. No, you're the one
know, I
bullshitting because all you do is bullshit.
What have I
and
said
you're a
that's
fucking
bullshit?
scumbag for it.
Bullshit.
What have I said that's bullshit?
Because you said I'm deflecting. No, I technically have not left them yet.
No, you called me out for deflecting.
And that's all
And
you
then
do.
I called you out for deflecting.
because you're a scumbag.
Right when I said you left the Grizz, you go, you left the. I mean, right when I said you left the Nugs, you go, you left the Grizz. Is that
No,
not
what did I
deflecting?
say before that? What did I say
Is that
before that?
deflecting?
What? Hey,
Little
what
bit.
did I say before that? Look me in the eye, you fucking scumbag. What did I say before that? Yeah, go ahead and laugh because you're a scumbag bitch. But no, yes.
We gotta clip this.
Yes.
We gotta
Yeah.
clip this.
Yes.
But no, yes. So last dance, and then you left the Grizz. So all you do is deflect because you're a little bitch.
Okay.
Ooh.
And go ahead and root for a 37-1 team, you fucking scum.
Spicy.
Yeah, I'm not gonna leave them like you will with the Nugs. But
Okay, what about the fucking Grizzlies who
that was a joke, bro.
who won 11 more games than the Heat? Also, you're gonna root for the same team as the Pistons in the East. Have fun with that.
They're on different
Have fun.
sides.
We're in different sides, or in the.
They're
in
the
same
8th
dis-
seed in the East. We're
But we're in the same conference. It's year over
You
year.
think
bro.
the Pistons are gonna play the Heat in the fucking Eastern
No.
Conference Finals?
What about next year? In the years coming up, bro.
You think the Heat have a chance?
I'm just saying hypothetically, come
That'd be
down the
sick.
road.
I hope you're right.
Yeah, and you're gonna be rooting for the Heat because you're a little bitch.
Okay, so my next.
No, let's go to Maven. Maven, who's your winner? You haven't said your winner yet.
That was great. I love that. Winners or storylines, not really winners. To be honest, I haven't really been like tapped in on all of the series, so I'm just going to go off the series that I've been watching. What Steph Curry is doing is incredible. And there are some I'm not like knee deep in NBA Twitter, but I'm, testing the waters, and there are a lot of uncomfortable conversations going on around Steph Curry. And I know you feel a certain way towards Steph Curry, and a lot of people are comparing him to Kobe. A lot of people
And
comparing
what,
him to
like,
Kobe.
just like career path?
Just in terms of
or
like,
like play style? Because I was going to say play style. Definitely not.
not in play style, but more of like mentality where it's like, I kind of see Steph in the same light as Kobe and MJ in terms of having that killer instinct. And I think like I'm not a big proponent of like the LeBron versus MJ debate, but I don't think there's a doubt that LeBron doesn't have that killer mentality. Like you mentioned before, like he was yucking it up with Ant, like in the middle of the game during crunch time at the end of the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And you would never see MJ or Kobe or even Steph do that, to be honest. So I think what Steph is doing, and I saw the graphic of where like how many points he scored in the series, and then it's like 7 or 8 Rockets players after that. Like he's quite literally putting the Warriors on his back, especially with Jimmy out with that one game.
That was impressive.
Fortunately, Jimmy is back, so full strength Warriors. I'd love to see him make a run and get to the second round and play Ants. But what Steph Curry is doing is incredible, and if he wins a 5th ring, there are going to be a lot of uncomfortable conversations.
That would be crazy.
Yeah.
That would be crazy.
My other storyline, and it's sort of biased, but I'm going to give love to the Knicks instead of the Pistons. what Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson are doing are incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been very critical of Cat Big Purr, but he has shown up and he's hit some big time shots. He hit 2 fadeaways in Game 3 and Game 4 respectively, basically behind the backboard, and nailed both shots. And then he hit the 3 at the end of Game 4.
The step back, like damn near logo.
The game winner, probably the biggest shot of his career. So he's been a killer. And if he plays like that, I'm not saying they're going to beat the Celtics, but it's going to be competitive if he can keep this up. Now, playing devil's advocate a bit, you look at how the Pistons have been playing him. Jalen Duren's been so bad. He's like a minus 42 overall. And we have to, sort of put an undersized Tobias Harris on him, who's doing the best that he can to guard him, but there's only so much you can do. And I don't
think he did a bad job.
No, not a bad job at all.
Yeah,
but you could see that he's not making Cat uncomfortable. And the thing that we're missing from Stu is that he has enough size and strength to make Cat uncomfortable. And even though Tobias is doing the best he can't quite do that. So if, like I said, if Cat can keep it up, that's great, and I think they have a chance against the Celtics. But tip of the cap to Karl Anthony Towns. He is proving me wrong.
Yeah, Karl Anthony Towns, man, he hit so many big-time shots. Mm-hmm. Him and Jalen, that's just the story of this series so far, because every game's been pretty close.
Yeah.
And Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns are hitting the shots, and the Pistons aren't.
And the only gripe I have, I guess with you, but it's not really just you. I'm sure other people are saying it. It's like at the end of the game, Kate had a chance to win the game off the shot, and then the ball sort of found its way to the corner, and we all know what happened there. But, like, the first thing that you said, was like, is Brunson better than Cade? And I feel like that's an unfair question because Brunson just won the game. He just had a great performance. It's like, are we going to be prisoners of the moment, or are we going to realize what's going on? And it's unfortunate that, I said in the group chat, if Cade hits that shot, it's a completely different story, and it's a complete we're singing a different tune. Mm-hmm. But it sucks because we should be still acknowledging like how great Cade played. And he really did. It was a triple-double in your 4th career playoff game.
Yeah, second Piston ever.
The dunk on Cat in the middle of the game was unbelievable.
The crowd was so lit.
Man, he played such a great game, and it's unfortunate he missed a shot. But I like I said in the group chat, like, it doesn't change my opinion on him. I still think that he's going to be an elite player in this league, and that shot will eventually fall.
I agree. So it was kind of a prisoner of the moment thing because, I was so upset after that game just because, rightfully so.
And we're all victims of it.
As a Pistons fan, do I expect Cade to hit those shots? I do.
Yeah.
But he also is 23 years old.
Yeah, and it's his third year in the league.
And it's his 3rd year in the league. I sat back and reflected. And, obviously Cade is not the reason we lost that game. Absolutely not. He was coming out of the 3rd quarter. Cade had so many great defensive plays.
Yeah.
Had like 3 blocks. One on
that
Brunson.
block on Bridges too in transition. That was tough.
Yeah. The reason we lost this game is because of that horrible first half.
Yeah.
That first half. Sure, at the end of the 2nd quarter, we kind of came back.
And at the end of the game, too, it sort of felt like we were trying not to lose the game instead of trying to win the game.
Yeah, I think outside of those last 2 minutes of that first half, it was one of the worst first halves I've ever seen in a long time.
Yeah, it was pretty ugly.
We couldn't even make those layups. Like, they had to be putbacks.
Yeah.
Like, we had to be dunking them to be making the shot. And, we started 2 of 21 from 3. And then Malik Beasley started catching fire for the first time in the series.
Yeah.
And that was really nice to see. But, it happened a little late.
Yeah.
He's been tweeting a lot. He's been talking a lot. And, he just hasn't been really backing it up.
There was a tweet he had. It was like, it takes 4 games, not 3. And someone quoted, and it was like writing checks that Cade has to cash.
I love that. I love that when people say that shit. That shit's great. But yeah, I want to say shout out Cat, shout out Brunson, and I do think Brunson has been the best player in this series.
I think so. Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
The series isn't over, but I do think Cade will be a better overall player in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think Cade will hit those shots in the future. I mean, it's his 4th playoff game, but that is one thing I do need to see from him, and the turnovers.
Well, that's the thing, and people who just come in and watch the game as like fair weather fans and don't really know ball, just look at it as like, oh, he missed a shot, he's not the guy. But like people that haven't played sports, and we've all played sports, throughout our lives, and we watch religiously. We all know and understand that like you're going to face adversity. You're going to sometimes lose, even if you play well, right? And sometimes you have to learn how to lose before you can learn how to win.
Yeah.
And we have such high expectations of Cade, and that hasn't changed. But we get so caught up in the player that we think he can be, we expect everything to go right, and it's like, sometimes you have to learn, and you don't ever learn from winning.
Trial and error.
Exactly. You only learn from your losses, and you don't look at it as losses. You look at them as lessons. So I'm sure he's going to bounce back from it. I expect a big game from him in Game 5. So I'm excited to continue to watch his journey.
Yeah, he learned from Game 1 to Game 2.
Yeah.
Just like that.
The whole
obviously.
team, really.
Yeah, and they obviously won Game 2, and a total of 3, lost those 2 games by a total of 3 points, and they were right there. It's just you gotta learn to win, and all those Knicks players, and obviously it's their first year together as a core, but they've all done it somewhere else, and their playoff experience is a lot bigger than JD, Asar, Cade, and they played like they were playing in their first playoff series in the first half, and they figured it out. But the first half it wasn't good enough, and then they gave up 30 points again in the fourth quarter. So they gave up 40 points in Game 1. So it's grueling too, the process of winning, and that's a great thing about the NBA playoffs is they're long, and it's a long process to win. And I'm hoping, obviously, I want them to win the series, but if they're going to lose, I want them to get at least one more game.
One more game here.
Play one more game so they get one more game experience.
Yep.
And, Cade, he had to take, that was his first potentially game-winning shot. And honestly, there I was right in front of it. It looked good and just a little bit long. And in that game, in the first half, he was like, I think it was like 4-1-0 or something like that, his stats. He ended up getting a triple-double. He turned it on to end the half and, played well for the most part, and had, I think, 12 points in the fourth quarter, which that was his best so far in the fourth quarter in the playoffs. So he's getting better, but again, you got to take that next step to overcome a good team.
You said it perfectly, Bean. It's trial and error, and the only way to gain experience is by playing. Yeah. You can't. There's no shortcut to it. You just got to go through it, and you learn from it.
I think there's only 2 things he really has to improve overall. I think for the majority of the stuff I've seen from Cade, he's gotten really good at. He's cemented himself as one of the best players in the league, and he's got that media attention now. And shout out JB Bickerstaff as well.
Yeah.
Like every single player on that Pistons team believes they could beat this team.
Absolutely.
And he instilled the confidence in them to beat that team. Although we are down 3-1, we could have won all 4 of those games. They could have won all 4. Every game's been close.
Sure.
So, yeah, I think the 2 things Cade really does need to improve on is, he's the point guard. He's going to make turnovers. But just those silly turnovers.
Yeah.
Those ones that just dribble off his leg.
Yeah.
Or the ones where he throws it cross court. Like the ones that are easily like if you're trying to throw a lob to Duran, like that's fine.
Right.
But like he had a turnover around the 4-minute mark where it just dribbled off his leg and then they go up. And then he had one with a minute left where it went out of bounds. And then I think next time down, I think Cat made a shot. So I think he just has to clean those up, and there's a lot that we can improve overall as a team. Yeah. And I'm nitpicking too. Yeah. I'm nitpicking hard because Cade is such a good player that it's hard to find weaknesses.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's having a great playoff series. Oh my God! If he hit that shot though, that would have been fucking.
Yeah, that would have been crazy.
That would have been crazy. It still technically wouldn't have been over though, because I think
there would have been a few seconds left.
But I don't know if they didn't have a timeout though, did they?
They did. Knicks did. Pistons had used their last timeout.
Oh, okay.
They the Cade. I think. Well, it's not he dribbles off his leg because he's dribbling in the traffic. So he's just got to be smarter when he chooses to drive, and obviously he's trying to make a play out there. So, and I think too is they'll eventually give Cade another superstar. Obviously, Ivy was it was a great 1-2 punch before he got hurt, so that's hurt a little bit. But I think, it's like we said, trial and error, and you can only learn from this and get better. So
I'm glad you brought up Ivy Bean, because I do think that I'm very high on Jaden Ivey. I think we all are, and he 100% Cade needs to clean up the turnovers, and I think having a second scoring option and someone who can handle the ball like Ivy is going to help him tremendously. We've gotten glimpses of how they would work together, and it's looked great. It's just we need both of them to be healthy at the same time, and I can't wait to watch them both ball out together.
Yeah, for sure. Great series, best series so far.
Agreed.
I mean, Nuggets and Clippers is up there too.
Yeah, this one right here, Houston Golden State, very
Houston,
good.
Golden State, good. Lakers Wolves has been good.
Yep.
Outside of those first two games, that were blowouts.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing I wanted to touch on for one of my storylines is Kawhi Leonard is back.
He is.
Kawhi Leonard averaging 26.5 points per game. It's just so nice. We talked about it last episode.
Another team you left.
It's just so nice to see Kawhi Leonard be back and actually healthy for the playoffs, because the last 3 to 4 years he hasn't really been that. And Paul George would also get hurt too.
Yeah.
Now that he's off that team, it's hard. I didn't realize how big of a leap Zubac has made too. Zubac has been a massive player for them. And James Harden, him not missing any games this year. He didn't miss many. He wanted to play a bunch of them, and
didn't he? I think he played on all 82, didn't he?
Yeah. I knew he was
something like that.
I knew he was really up there. I didn't know if he played in all 82. I didn't want to say something that wasn't factual, but yeah, he could have played. I think he might have played in all 82. And it's showing. And Norman Powell was hitting some big shots. And Bean, how about that Aaron Gordon?
That's great.
That buzzer
Electric.
beater. This is the first playoff buzzer beater that was a dunk.
Whoa.
That was crazy. I caught it with .2, and it went in it was funny. You sent it the next day.
Was the game tied, or were the Clippers
tied?
Okay.
The Clippers are down 22 and eventually took the lead, their first lead of the game with just over a minute left. And then Jokic hit a free throw, and then they I think I can't remember, they hit the go-ahead bucket, and then the Clippers tied it, and then the Gordon dunk, which they didn't show it on TNT, but you can see the refs were looking at the monitor, and you could see kind of see the overhead view of Gordon catching it and the ball leaving his hands as the light went on. So I'm like, oh, they're gonna count this, and that was you sent it Hef. That was the view that Secaucus saw and eventually ruled it a good basket play. That's not even a millisecond of him getting it off. So that was a crazy play. And yes, Jokic shot it, but he also shot it knowing that he's made those shots before, and if it's an air ball, AG is going to be there in the dunker spot.
Mm-hmm.
It was the closest review I've ever seen in my life, man. Yeah, it was unreal.
They didn't have the frame rates to show a clear
boop,
view.
Boop. It was almost right when the buzzer hit. Yeah. It's just off his fingertips.
Yeah,
it was freaking crazy.
Draymond just nailed a 3.
But yeah, that made the series
Warriors money line.
The new Splash Bros.
That made the series a lot more interesting. And
hell yeah,
now we got a 2-2 series tie going back to Denver, which is going to be
exciting.
Absolutely
that series
electric.
Destined for 7.
Yeah,
it's looking like it.
And Is there anything else? Anyone else have any other storylines?
You got one more, right, Mames?
Do you have a story? Do you have any more storylines, Maven?
Or did you say them all?
Or did you say them all?
What the fuck?
No,
Sweeney?
mine was.
Jesus.
Sorry. You're fine.
2 errors in a row.
Mine was Ant as well, so have covered that well. So.
I might have had another one.
Did he make another 3? We got a lot of action. I think he did.
I may have had another storyline.
Buddy.
Oh. Yeah, the Bucks.
Ooh, good one.
The Bucks.
That's a good one.
You know, being you were early on it.
Yeah, that's just too obvious. Like,
Well, shout out Dame. Hope speedy recovery. But
Yeah,
he's
absolutely.
34 with a torn Achilles. That may be curtains for him.
Yeah, it sounds like just exactly like Kobe. You know, like he was around that age, and then
The
you know
Achilles.
he never really was the same player because that's like the one injury you don't really want when
Right.
you're that age.
Right.
And I'm gonna read off this tweet that I showed you guys.
That was an insane tweet.
Yeah, so it's from Matt 6 Rings of Steel on X. He's a Dame tears his Achilles. The Bucks don't own their first this draft. And then they have pick swaps in 26, 28, and 30, and they get the worst pick each time. They don't own their first pick until 2031, and they have no like young core to really rely on.
And they employ Kyle Kuzma.
If Giannis doesn't request a trade, I don't know like if he will not. He's just going to be a Buck for life if he doesn't request a trade now.
Yeah.
Because that team needs to acquire shit really bad, and that because they're not going to win a championship when Giannis is the only player. You know, and Kuzma's oh my God,
He's a liability.
I did not expect him to be that bad.
Right.
Like he is freaking horrible. And I think the Bucks trading Giannis would be good for both teams. The Bucks could get a fuck ton of picks that they don't really have right now, and not be stuck in mediocrity like the Bulls have been.
Yep.
And just have a couple shitty years, and I think it'll pay off.
Oh. Yeah, the Bucks.
I agree on all fronts, by the way.
That's a big storyline. Is they panicked 3 years ago or 2 years ago, trading Drew Holiday, firing Coach Bud. They haven't really recovered since Holiday. Obviously, it was flashy getting Dame, but he's gotten hurt in the last 2 years in the playoffs. Obviously, it sucks. Now he's going to miss all of next year after tearing his Achilles last night. And then the Kyle Kuzma, that's going to go down as not the worst trade because Middleton is also hurt, but like they shouldn't have made. That was just a panic move at the deadline. And then firing their coach last year when they were 30-13, it was a panic move. So they've made all the wrong decisions pretty much ever since they won a title. And obviously they panicked to try and become a dynasty and put more around Giannis, and Giannis doesn't have much help, and so he's hinted at he's never wanted to play with. He's always wanted to play for the Bucks his whole career, but obviously, that now that they've made the wrong moves, that he's gonna want a trade. So, and maybe that's why they did it, because he's hinted at if it goes south, which it has, and that was the Bucks doing. That I think it's just a matter of time before he goes. Because what, are you gonna wait for Dame to come back? It'll be 2 years and he'll be 36.
Can't do that.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't seem bright. And Giannis is, I think, is late 20s, early 30s at this point. So it's time for him to go, because he's gonna be wasting his prime if they wait for Dame to come back. So,
right.
I think it's smart to have to get some trades, and thankfully, it's going to be a rebuilding process. That's just one less team the Pistons have to worry about, because they've never beaten the Bucks in it seems like forever. So, that's a big storyline for me too, Huff.
Yeah, if they're trading away players, why don't you go ahead and send Bobby Portis to us? Just go ahead and do that.
I like Bobby.
Yeah, Bobby.
I like Bobby. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good re-signing in years past, or after they won the title, but he's slowly declining. Brook Lopez has declined, so it's it's time for a rebuild in Milwaukee.
Definitely. Anything else from the NBA, fellas?
I'm good.
I'm all good, baby.
All right. Some puck talk.
Yes. Maybe your Caps are looking good.
Perfect time to take a piss for myself.
Caps are looking good.
They won 3-2.
Leafs are looking good. 3 overtime games against Ottawa in the Battle of Alberta.
Yep, come back quickly, Hef. You got a lot of questions to answer.
Battle of Ontario. My bad.
Battle of Florida.
The
Panthers.
We just watched the Panthers take a 3-1 series lead.
Yeah,
so it looks like the Lightning are pretty much done. There's always a chance, but
they are going back home. But it was crazy. It was looking like because the Lightning were up 2-1.
Yeah.
And in that game, and it looked. I made a joke to you. I'm like, sometimes they say the series doesn't start till the home team loses. This one was. The series doesn't start till the home team wins, and Florida got a win, come from behind win, like we were reacting to earlier. They won 4-2, and now they have a chance to close it out in Tampa, which they won both games so far there. Yeah,
that's a bit of a surprising series, but also Florida defending champs.
Yep.
So not too surprising.
And they faltered at the end of the regular season, but they had all those injuries, and now they're. Obviously, they added Marchand, too.
Yep.
So they're obviously, defending champs. And Tampa, it's good, but they're still they're getting older. I think it's time for them to – they still got very good players, but it may be time for them to get a little bit younger.
Yeah, maybe. But the West has been more interesting because you have some of the teams that – were expected to be some of the contenders for the Cup this year, and they're having issues in the first round. Mainly the Winnipeg Jets, which, they're known for being chokers in the playoffs, but still it seemed like they had control of this series early on against the Blues, and Blues one of those teams that kind of sort of got hot late at the year and, they went to the playoffs with not many expectations, but now they're sitting, I believe they're up 2-1 or 3-1.
The
Blues?
So Blues are up, excuse me, it's tied. I was just about to say every series in the East is 3-1 after what Florida,
everything's
Florida
2-2
did today.
in the West.
And West after last night, the Oilers tying the series up 2-2 after losing.
Are the Wild up?
The Wild, so it looked like they potentially could have won up 3-1.
Yeah.
But the Vegas Golden Knights had a good third and forced overtime and won in overtime.
Okay, so Vegas tied it up. Vegas, another team that a lot of people had them as
or I don't even think it
Cup contenders, but they're struggling with Minnesota. Matt Boldy's really taken taking control of that series.
Yep.
And they have some star power with Kaprizov as well.
I was just about to say, yeah.
Brock Faber at the back end, so. They have some players in Minnesota, and another team that didn't really have much expectations going into the playoffs, but that's the beauty of the NHL playoffs. You never know which teams are going to get hot at the right time. So they're giving Vegas their best shot. And Colorado and Dallas, who play tonight, another great series. I'm rooting for the Avs, but Dallas is it is a tight series, and that may be the best series right now. But I'm changing. I had the Lightning making it out of the East. I no longer think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
The Caps have a good chance, but I just feel like it's the Leafs here. I think the Leafs are going to find a way to do it.
I think so too. It's funny that series, the last 3 games have gone to overtime.
OT, yep.
They've found ways to. They won the first 2 overtime games. Lost game 4, but they have a chance to close it out tomorrow. And then you have the Stars and Avalanche series has been great. Game 5 is happening right now. The Stars, they won both games in overtime, games 2 and 3, and the Avs have won both games by 4 goals or more.
Yeah, it was a statement win for them in Game 4.
Yeah,
must win. They come out firing.
Absolutely, and
you see Landeskog's goal? It was electric.
I saw the replay today. Just what a story.
What a story
he is. And then then the Oilers have tell the people how he plugged you up yesterday in the parlay.
Yes, I logged into my good old DraftKings account, checked, and Heekla's always talking puck in the chat. Shout out Heeks. I'm gonna have to have him on at some point. I was like, just chef me up some parlay. I'm hungry, and he made me Oilers money line over 6.5, Draisaitl goal, and then
McDavid assist.
Yep, and none of that would have hit, but there's 30 seconds left, and the Oilers, pulled the goalie, and who scored? Who was it, Bean?
It was
You said Bouchard.
Oh, it was Bouchard. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he had
2 goals.
Yeah, 2 goals. And so that made everything alive again because then it was tied and it had to go to OT. Someone had to score the goal.
3 + 3 = 7.
Exactly. Over 6.5. That's over 6.5. 7. Yeah, exactly. And
4 + 3 = 7 plus.
So yeah, and all I needed was a Draisaitl goal, and I woke up to text in the morning, being all caps.
Beautiful.
It said, "Holy fuck hef, holy fuck hef, holy fuck hef."
What a way to start your morning.
And I was like, "Oh shit!" And then it felt like Christmas morning. Woke up, had a couple extra dollars in my account, and
can't beat it.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's another great series. I'm glad that the Oilers are making it interesting. I feel bad for Oilers fans because after last year's heartbreak, you hope to come back with a strong effort this year. They've just had so many injuries up and down the board, so I'm glad they're making it a series. And LA is one of my favorite young teams in the league. I love Quentin Byfield. I love some of the veterans they still have around with Kopitar and Drew Doughty. Adrian Kempe just seems like he was born to score playoff goals. So I love watching them play, and looks like Dallas took a 1-0 lead early in Game 5.
That's just give me 3 more overtime games in this series, man.
Yeah. It's gonna be a brawl every game here on out.
Another series, we briefly mentioned it. We need some answers. What's going on with your Hellebuck? 11 goals in the last 2 games. Ever since, maybe I don't know if you saw John Gruden's unboxing, got a series. He got a box from the St. Louis Blues.
Oh, really?
He goes, the St. Louis Blues are down 2-0. They're looking to give the Jets nightmares. And
really?
They're 2-0 since that. And
no shit.
Hess Hellebuck has given up 11 goals since then.
Yeah.
So Hef, is Hellebuck's Edgewood membership sort of in the balance right now?
Stole the words right out of my mouth, man. I think, I talked to the president of Edgewood this morning.
Good.
And he said, I don't want a choke artist at my club.
We only allow winners.
Yeah, we only allow winners, and it sucks because he's the only one who's in the NHL. But that's just how it goes. And you
don't make the rules; you just enforce them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he's gonna have to improve.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, it's
what's that series at?
2-2. Everything in the West is 2-2.
Oh, so yeah, he'll let up another 10 goals in these next 2 games then.
Damn, 21 goals in 4 games.
I think it would be sick if they somehow did win the cup though. What if he brings the cup to Edgewood?
Yeah,
he would.
Dope.
That'd be sick.
It's he's obviously a great goalie, but he's become a regular season merchant.
Yeah.
Still got time to prove it.
Rantanen goal.
Yep. Still have time to prove it, but Blues they're scrappy. They're a scrappy bunch, Mabes, and
they are.
To go down 2-0 to the President's Cup trophy winners, and come right back at home and score 11 goals against one of the best goalies in the league is very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
And then their Capitals, that was an impressive win.
Yeah, it was. I texted in the group chat. The game's over once Montreal took the lead. The Bell Center was electric. What a atmosphere for that game. Demidov with the beautiful deke.
Great pass.
And then a great pass to Slavkovsky for that power play goal. That was beautiful, and it's a sight for years to come for Canadiens fans, so they should be excited.
Yes.
But the Caps, man, they just find ways to win, and it starts with a huge Tom Wilson hit in the neutral zone, and then McMichael sort of had a trickle-in goal there to tie the game up, and they eventually won the game. The Caps are just dangerous, man. They you don't picture them as a team that can score a whole lot of goals, but they led the league in scoring this year. And then they have a very solid defense, even if one of their defenders, Ferravari's out for the playoffs, still very deep on the blue line. They're still missing one of their best players in Alexei Protas, who scored 30-plus goals, all even strength, and then he's a great penalty killer as well. Dude's a big 6'5", like Prussian. Like, he's just massive human being. So they're still missing him, and they're still getting it done against a scrappy Canadiens team. So I'm liking what I'm seeing out of the Caps. I would love to see a Caps-Toronto series if we can get that going. That would be electric. Would I be happy with either team to make it to the Cup Finals? I do give the edge to the Leafs just because they have a bit more star power.
Yeah.
But
I'm still rooting for your Caps.
yeah, I think those are the two teams that I look at coming out of the East, and I still believe in Colorado. They're down now.
Well,
Game 5,
this series is going 7,
yeah,
so
it's early.
Yeah.
Plenty of hockey left.
I think Stars will. I mean, it's easy to say, but it's only 1 goal lead.
Yeah,
I think they'll win this game. Avs will force a Game 7, then all hell is going to break loose.
hope so.
In Game
It's
7.
been a great playoff though.
Yeah, I obviously, excuse me, the 3-1 series leads in the Eastern Conference. I think New Jersey's dead. I mean, we've talked about it.
Yeah.
That's impressive, honestly, to win a game.
Yeah,
And I think, did they lose in overtime too yesterday?
they did. Yeah,
So they're scrappy, and we said like Hurricanes are not necessarily going to blow you out, but they're going to just kind of wear you down and eventually win.
yeah. They just drag you into the mud.
Yeah, exactly. The Tom Wilson, we brought up Tom Wilson.
Mhm.
The bench fight with
the
that was
clip
sweet.
of him like the.
Well, no, the bench fight on Game 3, the game they lost.
Yeah, that was in the same game.
Did he? Oh, he did that
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, obviously the Habs won that game,
Mm-hmm.
but gutsy win yesterday, kind of very similar to the Florida win tonight.
Mm-hmm.
But my question is, outside of New Jersey, because we both agree that series is over. Oh, another goal for the Stars.
Stars up 2-0.
A lot of pressure they were putting on the end of the period.
Mhm.
I just want to do a quick shout out.
Yeah, what's up?
Scott Combs just texted in the chat that Nolan Edgell just texted him and said he loves the Loose Ball podcast.
Oh, shout out Nolan Elgin.
Shout out
Edgell.
Nolan.
Shout out Nolan, man. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Keep going, Ben.
You're the reason why we do it.
Yes, 100%. We went to high school, a cup of tea with him. But good guy. Went to high school with Scotty. So shout out Nolan. Thank you for listening. You're gonna love about the hour mark of me and Huff going at it. mainly going at Huff.
It's not going to be the last time it happens either.
No,
Definitely not.
no. But yeah, shout out. And what was? Oh, we agree that Hurricanes are gonna win that series.
Mhm.
But of the other 3-1 series, do you see any team coming back and winning?
The only team I see that has a chance is Tampa, just because they have the firepower to do so.
And they have not necessarily home ice, but if they were to get to Game 7, they would have home ice.
And they do have, like, they've won championships before. They have the pedigree. They have a lot of the same guys that won championships with them. So and they have a great goaltender with Vasilevsky. So I wouldn't count them out.
Yep.
I don't really see, like, Montreal's too young.
Yeah.
I don't see them coming back. I don't see Ottawa just as outmanned, outgunned. So I don't see them coming back. So Tampa.
Next game is going to be very telling for the Leafs tomorrow night because they have had 3-1 leads.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they had a 3-0 lead, but 3-1 leads, the famous one to me is, or the one that sticks out is against Montreal in the COVID year, and Montreal ended up going to the Cup that year.
Mm-hmm.
That one sticks out, and obviously it's been a close series. The last three games have been gone to overtime. So can they close it out in the home ice? And obviously they'll get some rest. And they've handled that 3-1 leads before, and they haven't closed out strong. So
that's a great point, B.
And if
it's just a mental factor for them.
Mm-hmm.
If they can get out in Game 5 with a win and end the series right there, that'd be so huge just for the mental of that team. If they lose that game and have to go back to the belt or to Ottawa, for Game
It's
6.
going back to
It's
Toronto.
going back to Toronto
100%.
for Game 7. So they got to do whatever they can to win this game and close the series out.
Yeah, it was impressive. The 2 overtime wins. Obviously, it's hard to get 3 overtime wins in a row. So I'm not going to knock them too much, but Game 5 will be telling
For sure.
100%.
Good point, B.
I still like our picks so far, Mabin. But yeah, I think the key storyline in the West is, has Hellebuyck, can he turn it around? And then
Steph just broke ankles.
I got to make that. Houston's having trouble boxing out Quentin Post. But yeah, Hellebuyck, can he bounce back? And then can the Oilers beat? Or I guess can LA beat the Oilers?
Yeah.
Well, with those unis, I think they could beat anyone.
They're sweet.
Those
Agreed.
unis are fucking nasty.
Agreed.
So.
Anything want to add? Anything for the NHL playoffs, Hef?
Well, I picked the Lightning to make the cup.
Yeah.
I don't know if I had them winning it on. I think they're. What are they tied? Are they the ones that are
They're
tied?
down 3-1 now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 3-1 comeback is coming.
Love it.
So here's a question for you, Hef. Out of the teams that I know obviously you bet the Lakers to win it all, but out of the Lakers or the Lightning, I know you just picked them last week on the pod. From 3-1 down, who do you like to win? Who do you like their odds better to win, come back and win?
Well, I don't know much about the Lightning. I just know they're the Florida team, Tampa Bay. But I do think, my question to you guys is, I'm just going to bring that right back to you. Do the Lightning actually have a chance or no?
Yeah, I think so.
They do.
I think so.
It's just tough because they're playing the defending champs. So it would have been huge if they closed it out today. But obviously, even though they have experience, it's still hard to win in the playoffs and going against the defending champs.
I would give them a slim. I would give them a slim chance. I'd give the Lakers no chance.
I'd give the Lakers a very low chance. The only chance that I give is if Luka just goes absolutely nuclear,
Or if Ant has another baby and has to go to court.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I
He
didn't
misses game
I didn't
5.
think about that.
Yeah, that's the only. Those are the only options.
But the Wolves have,
But you're right. Luka can steal a game.
yeah,
So it could happen.
Only chance is if But the thing is, they did it last game too.
Yeah.
Luka LeBron, they played great. So Jackson Hayes is a bum. And
LeBron can't go have an egg in the fourth like he did.
Hachimura had a
True.
good game.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
He did have a good game.
He
but
played better than Reeves.
Dorian Piggy has been good.
it was probably their best game they played.
Yeah.
And they still lost. So
Yeah.
I don't give them a high chance at all after seeing them lose that game somehow.
Yeah.
But
And they were winning for most of the game too.
so I'm just gonna go with the Lightning.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe anything to add on the
Puck.
puck?
No, I pretty much stick to the same thing on the west side of things. I think I'm rooting for the Avs, but I said it at our preview of the NHL playoffs. I think whoever wins the Stars and Avs matchup in round 1 is going to go to the Cup Finals. And my only change would be, instead of the Lightning, I think it's either going to be Toronto or the Caps to make it to the finals. And I'm rooting for the Caps, but I think Toronto just – if it's going to be any year, it's got to be this year for the Leafs.
Yeah, I want to see Caps Toronto in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, that'd be electric.
Yep. So far, obviously Florida is now they have home ice, but they were the lower seed, but they were the defending champs. So for all intents and purposes, all the favorites are winning. In the East.
Yeah.
And we got it looks like long rolling series in the West. So a little bit of diversity, kind of a tale of two different first rounds in each conference. So
well said.
I got nothing else to add in the NHL. I do apologize, but I do 95%. I mean 95% when I said maybe I could go without the.
Did you mean
the swearing?
Did you mean to call me a pussy? And a
No,
bitch?
no. I think it's scumbag. Maybe I called you. Maybe pussy once, but
We'll
definitely
check
a
back
bitch.
on the tape.
But definitely a lot of scumbags. I do retract those statements. Well, you bringing up pussy, which was hilarious. I think the Knicks fan should do it. Was Cat's a pussy, and I don't think that's really vulgar. He is a pussycat.
That's true.
So
That's a fact.
Yeah.
that was one of my favorite moments too yesterday. But hopefully the Pistons can come through.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's the thing, man. Sports. Sports bring people together, and you have talks and arguments. It's great.
Absolutely.
It's the best thing about sports. It brings people together. And it's something to look forward to every day because there's sports nonstop, and there's sports nonstop on this podcast weekly.
Absolutely.
That was heat.
That was fire. Are we all done, boys?
Yeah, wrap us up, Heffa.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. We have just a shout out again. We have our TikTok and YouTube. They're starting to gain some traction. We're dropping some nice YouTube trivia sports. If you guys enjoyed that, please check it out at Loose Balls Pod 1. And we have our Twitter account X where make sure you guys know when our pods drop. It'll be dropping. Today's Monday, so it'll be dropping Tuesday morning or sometime at that time.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, my name is Ryan Heffernan.
Tristan Mabin.
Christopher Bean.
Deuces.
Peace and love.